trying to get this car back on the road. I just replaced the intake and the valve covers. I'm pretty much just waiting for silicone to dry so I can put more coolant in it. I'm about to hook up the spark plug wires, but before I do that, I got to replace the accelerator cable because the eyelet in the old one broke out. So it's really just a big hole now and a little tiny stud, so that's not going to work. So I have an extra one laying around. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in before I route the spark plug wires. And then probably just give a little bit more time before I put coolant in it. So I'll show you what's up with I'll show you how I replace the accelerator cables. So this is the cable that I took off. Yeah, right here. That big hole right there, that's supposed to have a grommet in there. And these are just plastic and they just break out after a while. This one's kind of broke too, but at least it has one. So this one I'm gonna probably just, I don't know, maybe I'll keep it. I don't know. I might just throw it away because if I can't find a replacement one of these, and what good is that one? But I'm trying not to throw away parts so much anymore. Now granted, it's easy to take these off on the inside of the car or on the outside of the car. On the carburetor, they're really easy to take off, but it's the same method. This is a 13mm wrench. I like to just get them on there and they typically just slide out. This is the interior side. And it's really the same way. You're going to have some carpet probably on one side of this, so it's going to make life a little bit difficult, but it's the same way. You just slide a wrench over there, compress it, and then they just, typically they'll just come right out. So makes life a little bit easier. Cowl plate that they put on these cars. This car doesn't have one, and it looks like there was never one on there. Somewhere on the internet, somebody mentioned that on some vehicles they just didn't do it because the RPO sticker underneath the trunk lid, that tells all the information. So it was kind of a redundant thing to have also a cowl tag. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. Right up here, that's where the tag would be. It looks as if, I mean, I'm not seeing any line, and also the screw holes, they don't look like anything has ever been in there. So I'm very hesitant to think that somebody, for whatever reason, just took the plate off and just kept it for whatever reason. Wouldn't really make sense to take the plate off and then not have the car. So I thought that was interesting. I've had this car for a couple years now, and I just noticed that last weekend. So it's kind of been on my mind, but looks to me like the car's never had it. So let me know any other information on that. I'm interested to know. So I'm getting closer to, I'm still topping off the fluid. I don't even know if I am going to try to get this thing started today, just because looking at the silicone, it's still kind of tacky. So I don't know if I want to mess with it today. I'm not putting too much coolant in. I'm just trying to keep the level down. I'm not trying to get it into the intake. I took some more parts off. There's a couple of brackets that go into the intake. I just left those off. I kind of thought they were a little redundant as well. I got a bunch of bolts left over. So these are all bolts. None of them are studs. They all have washers on them for the intake. This I probably do need to put a new end on that. I don't think this fast idle solenoid works anyways. There's the donor accelerator cable that hopefully I'll get another 2 years out of that. I touched up the valve covers a little bit since I got those a little scratched up when I was doing everything. I really want to drive it since I've put that shifter back in, put the shifter in it. I've decided I'm just going to walk away from the car for the day. I'm leaving the coolant level a little low. I just want to give the silicone some time to dry. I had issues taking off the valve covers because I had silicone both sides because I was hoping I would just put the engine together one time. And I'm trying to get it to where the whole reason why I put a different engine in is because the last one was just absolutely pissing oil, and I was tired of my driveway leaking, so I'm trying to make this engine not leak. So I had to straighten up the valve covers a little bit. Hopefully they'll seal. If they don't, that's no big deal. I got another set of valve covers I can put on. Gaskets are cheap, silicone's cheap. The intake though. Intake was a completely different story. When I pulled off the intake, I didn't even have to pull it off. I mean, it just came right off. It's like none of the sealer on it, the silicone, wasn't doing much of a job. On the runners, I just used a shellac, but on the water passages, I used a gray sealer. I like the gray sealer. You're supposed to use it with coolant. I pretty much always use it with coolant. Not 100% of the time, but when I can, the gray stuff works the best for thermostat housings and water pumps. But so hopefully, oh yeah, the gaskets I'm using, they're a Mr. Gasket 405G. They're really just a paper gasket. They still have the China rails, you know, that you would get with a turkey tray gasket or the pan gasket, whatever you want to call it. The problem with them is because the heads and the intake still have the crossover passages. Those gaskets, the Mr. Gasket ones, eventually the EGR will just burn right through them. I've had that happen before. They're not a steel gasket or anything, so be mindful of that if you do use them. But other than that, I've had good luck with them sealing though, for the most part, when I have used them in the past. That's pretty much it. I'm just gonna walk away from it, come back out in the morning, then I'll probably top off the water, and hopefully it'll start right up. I still got the battery on the maintainer. It's just a trickle charger. So how do you work this thing?